So I want to talk to you about this. So Pakistan is a mixed bag of cookies, and sometimes really bad cookies. Um, we here the Constitution set the pointers that okay, this is a direction we're going to go in. And one of the most troubling part of Constitution, one of the points is out of 10 or 11 that no law can be made against Islam. Okay. Um, but in other cases, they have other points that again, which is an extension of that. You can't make a law. Let's say, for example, you can't make a head of state of Pakistan that's not non-Muslim. It just can't happen because Muhammad refused that. Although it's full of hypocrisy because Muhammad also said no woman can be head of state. So they should have added that clause in the Constitution as well.
Yeah, if you're going to be consistent, add it. Yeah.
It's all bull crap. So obviously that's the reason why they just they pick and choose. But this game of cat and mouse is kind of getting out of Pakistan's hand. But anyway, so there was a debate going on that okay, we should declare in the Constitution that inheritance is a inheritance. Women inheriting property is a basic, fundamental human right. But you think that okay, all right, women inheriting property. Okay, maybe we are 150 years behind, but okay, let's just declare a fundamental human right, which is a fair enough call because that says that okay, it's now state's responsibility to make sure that happens. But look at this, what happened? The Senate body rejected the bill declaring women's inheritance as a fundamental right. So Senate Standing Committee on Law and Justice on Wednesday rejected 2 constitution amendment bills, including the one seeking to declare women's inheritance a fundamental right with a majority vote. The committee, however, approved 2 other constitution amendment bills, including the one seeking to authorize advisors to the chief minister to participate in the proceeding of the provincial assembly, blah, blah, blah. I think the key point here is, again, as always, they just simply say, well, there's no need for it. Now, I got to be fair here. Islam actually doesn't have anything against women inheriting property. Yeah. Yes, it is discriminatory.
I mean, we inherit half, but okay, let's go with that. Sure.
Yeah, but in Pakistan,
Islam doesn't have any. Yeah.
Now, let me finish my point. So I think that the point that I'm trying to make is that Islam doesn't have anything against women owning property, albeit it's a lot less, not an equal share.
As long as it's half that of what a man gets, sure.
Yeah, well, because you have half in intelligence, don't you know?
Yeah, and we're also the majority in hell, don't you know? We reappear and appear in the shape of the devil, don't you know? There's so many things, don't you know?
You are the fitna. You cause men go astray. You know, like you're mate. You got nothing to complain about, all right, mate?
Okay. Mate, we have everything to complain about, but
sorry,
let's carry on.
Sorry, those of you who don't know, this is not me saying these are golden sayings of the Prophet. Not me. This is Muhammad.
Morris does not hold these views.
Yeah, I do not hold these views. Okay, so what happens? Why there was a need to do that? Because if Islam is not against women owning property, and if it's Pakistan's existing law doesn't actually prohibit that, it doesn't prohibit that. So what was the need for it? So what happens in Pakistan? Again, you can say that some people would say, well, this is un-Islamic, so it's not Islam's fault. Fair enough, wherever it comes from, it comes from. But again, we just don't only talk about Pakistan because Islamic Republic of Pakistan, but because it's Pakistan anyway, with other problems as well. So one of the problems is, so let's just say if you and I are brothers and sisters, then our parents die and we're like, okay, let's own property. My father died. So my mother would try to tell you that, oh, Nuria, look at your brother. You know, you are going to get married. You are going to get the share from your future husband, or if you're already married. If you're already married, then it's even worse. Then in that case, you already have it. But my son, he doesn't have anything. Who is he going to inherit from? So you just forego your share. So instead of even getting 25%, and I'm obviously doing the simpler version because, you know, it's just 50-50 kind of situation. apparently in mathematics don't add up. If you include mothers and sisters and brothers,
Yeah, it
you end up
definitely
giving 100.
doesn't. It's so warped.
It
Yeah.
does. It ends up in 110% or something.
Yeah, it does. Mate, I love you. I couldn't even do fractions.
Yeah, he
Okay.
couldn't do, he couldn't do fractions right. But anyway, so
Lamia was
that
in my math set 6.
yeah, so yeah, his mathematics was worse than mine. But anyway, so that was the reason. So a lot of women in Pakistan don't end up getting even the lesser portion of the inheritance. So there was a lot of pressure from women's rights groups that okay, we need to do something about this. Women are being manipulated, and they end up with nothing because eventually. Now imagine this. Now this is a scenario. Okay, so you've foregone your share to me, to your loving brother. You're like, okay, he can have it, the freaking loser brother. And then you go 5 years later, you get divorced. Now you don't get anything from there either. You come back, now you got nothing. So it's and this is not a far-fetched odd scenario. It happened all the time, and hence the need for this particular amendment. But then again, it's a male-dominated society, and they say, "Well, screw you. We don't care. Just let women suffer."
I just want to say, like, when people talk about feminism being like such a, like, oh my God, like we need to be careful of these feminists, like they're demanding so much. Literally, most of us, all we are saying, without being like, these like hardcore radical feminists, is that women's rights are fundamental rights. So for the human rights minister to say, I'm sorry, I just can't take this woman seriously. But for her to say that a woman's inheritance is not fundamental in a country where she knows that if women were to get that fundamental right to own property and to be financially independent, I shit you not, so many marriages would be broken overnight because
Yeah.
the only reason these women are sticking with these abusive men is because they don't have a right to anything financially where they can raise their kids. And honestly, a lot of women just, that's all they aspire to do, is just be safe and be able to raise their children just without any fear of abuse. And giving women the fundamental right to own property, like in Europe, these were massive movements. Like, we've been there, we've done that. And it's crazy for me to see you share an article in 2021 where in Pakistan a human rights minister is saying that a woman's inheritance does not equate to a fundamental right. Because if you
But she
ask me
didn't say
what
that. Sorry, she actually didn't
the
say that. This has
article
just
said,
been
that
rejected.
then, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just been rejected in the Senate. A human rights minister didn't say anything.
Okay, that at least that's good. So there's hope. There's hope then, if she didn't say that. But I mean, for this to be rejected in this day and age is just why I have literally like I have switched off from that country, because you are so not getting with the times. You are so not progressing. You're not moving forward in the way that with the suffragette movement, like women have been fighting for these basic rights for so long now. And the right to own property, it might seem like a really trivial issue, but in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to Pakistan and the culture there and where people's like wealth and their assets lie, it is in property. And if you give women the right to access what they are due and what they deserve, just on par with men, so many women would be able to like run their own houses and live their own independent lives where they're not answerable to men and they're not at the mercy and the behest of men or at the behest of abuse. So I mean, denying that on not passing a bill like that is just, it's fundamentally bonkers to me, to be honest. Like in the West, you would just think, of course, a woman has a right to inherit property. I'm sure you think the exact same way, which is why we find these reports that we report on kind of funny, because we're like, what is happening here? But this is the country that we love and we care about. But if like I always say, if you, again, a woman, if you give her the right to education, a right to control her reproductivity, and if you give her equal rights in the same way that you give men, women will be a force to be reckoned with, and that is only to the benefit of humanity. You are literally doing a disservice to the entire like human race by keeping half of your population under wraps. And Islam is the most beautiful ideology in that sense, to make women themselves think they're doing humanity a favor by covering up and by staying home and by not getting out there. And that's just fundamentally flawed. Like, read the friggin' Quran.